Hello and welcome to Banking Frontiers and Financial Technology Frontiers Live. We are about a week away from the biggest FinTech festival of this world, and that is the Singapore FinTech Festival. And I am really honored to have with me Pat Patel, who amidst all the fire that is taking place to set the entire event in shape in the next 1 week. Welcome, Pat, to this wonderful conversation with Banking Frontiers and Financial Technology Frontiers.
Thank you, Babu. It's great to be back again and looking forward to catching up next week as well.
Absolutely. So, Pat, how have you made this year's Singapore FinTech Festival unique with a unique theme? And what's new that we can expect this year?
Yeah, so as I'm sure quite a few people are aware, each year we try and do more things, much to the annoyance of my teams because it adds extra layers of complexity. If you do the same things, it's like clockwork. But for Singapore FinTech Festival, each year we try and do different things. We've got so many things planned for this year that are new and different. I think one of the things I want to highlight certainly is a TV show. So we are partnering with MediaCorp and TIE, so the Indian Entrepreneurs and Investors Association from Silicon Valley. And we are working together to launch a TV show that will start filming at the Singapore FinTech Festival and will run all the way through to the end of the year. It's called The Big Spark. So it's kind of like a Shark Tank, Dragon's Den type format for Southeast Asia. And the purpose of this is really to shine a spotlight on entrepreneurship across the Southeast Asia region. And so this is going to start airing, I believe, February time next year. And we're really looking forward to it because I think it's going to give not just the Singapore FinTech Festival, but Elevandi another channel to reach more people across the region. So that's one thing we're super excited about. The second piece is probably how we're curating the experience. So one of the feedbacks we got last year was around the event has got too big. So how do you make a big show feel small? And so what we've done is we've curated a series of zones. And so there'll be a tech zone that will have a tech stage and a tech lounge that will feature some of the brightest companies, the rising stars, as well as the big giants, talking about AI, digital assets, and cloud, and also the interplay of different technologies and how that leads to new propositions in the market. We also have the founder zone, and so that will be where we have the Founders Peak, which is in its second year, and we've taken that around the world now. And this Founders Peak is all about entrepreneurs sharing the pivotal moments that have got them to where they are in their journey. So it's not sales pitches, it's all about those moments that they have taken the biggest learning from to get to where they are. We also have an investor lounge in that space as well. So there'll be a lot of one-to-one meetings between investors and founders, and hopefully we'll start to kind of see some funding rounds emanate from this activity. We have an ESG zone that's going to cover a lot of the challenging issues we're seeing in sustainability. We have a reg zone as well this year, which we're quite excited about. And there are at least 40 to 50 different jurisdictions represented. And so there'll be a lot of content around different policy roadmaps, different frameworks, different kind of thinking on how do we leverage, but also regulate certain types of technologies in different markets. We'll also have an office hours there as well. So regulators will be meeting with the industry to talk about different frameworks and validate some of the projects that they're working on. We and then finally we have a talent zone, and that's going to be focused around the future of work, but supporting students and those looking to upskill and reskill. And provide a good view on where certain industry sectors are going to. So people can start to think about the skill sets that they require, but also the options are available to them. And we're working with a number of universities there on that particular area. And then, sorry, one final place is the international zone. So we have about 35 pavilions from different jurisdictions around the world who will be showcasing some of the brightest startups they have, but also some of the key kind of organizations and corporates that are from those jurisdictions. So it's setting up to be the biggest, certainly, festival we've ever run. And I believe it would be the largest in the world. And all of this is kind of anchored around policy, finance, and tech dialogue. And that's what really sets the festival apart, because when you inject that policy making and regulators into the dialogue, you get a rich tapestry that really has the potential to create the change that we need to see in financial services, because there is a lot of opportunities, but a lot of challenges that we need to resolve as an industry. And the only way you can do that is with policymakers and regulators coming together with finance experts, coming together with technologists, and it's that those three nexus of a community that really makes the difference.
You have managed to get some wonderful heavyweights as speakers. And if I am right, you have about 1,000 plus speakers that you have managed in this entire ecosystem of Singapore FinTech Festival. And it cannot get better than that. And I'm sure that you have really toiled hard for that. How do you think a person who is attending to the festival can actually get the best benefit out of all the possible sessions, even those which he could not get access to due to the time limitations there?
Yeah, so it's a tough one because it kind of feels sometimes like your first day at school. There are so many things going on. It's a large space to try and navigate. I think the zones will help people to curate their experience. I think it's also about it's an endurance test across the 3 days. Make sure you wear comfortable shoes. I think it's making sure that you have the app. So we have two apps this year. So we have the event app, which will help you navigate the experience. But we also have something that we're launching called Elevandi Insights. And that is an app which will look to focus on content and communities. So if you're interested in particular types of content, you should download that app and start to join the conversation that moderators and speakers will be having around specific topic areas. And so that will be releasing it later today. And you'll start to see a lot of QR codes and a lot of messages through our communication channels and on site where you could start to download and join a community. So whether it's digital assets, whether it's AI related, whether it's sustainability, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's cloud-based technologies. So we have a whole raft of different communities that you can start to join those communities and start to engage with other like-minded individuals in those spaces. So that would be my recommendation. And to your point around 1,000 speakers, it's absolutely scary when you think about it. It's the largest, I think, content program we've certainly ever had. And then when you factor in individuals such as Ajay Banga and Kristalina from the IMF, and a whole raft of founders from different jurisdictions and investors such as Vinod Khosla, you have kind of the makings individuals that will frame what we're likely to see in 2024. So short of cloning yourself to be able to get into all of the sessions, our recommendation is to log into the Elevandi Insights app. And also, we'll be sharing a lot of the videos from the sessions that you miss in that app, so you can catch up, a week later. We'll also be producing a number of white papers from a number of sessions and private roundtables that we're running, public-private dialogues. So that will give you a lot of insight, but also reading material for at least till early next year.
Excellent. It's really exhaustive, and you really need to have the potential to derive the best out of that, such a big event that you have ever architected. How have you started working on inclusion within this Singapore FinTech Festival? Because that is another very big topic which has always been on the forefront when it comes to the financial industry.
Yeah, so there's probably a few ways. The Elevandi level and the so-called event level, we make sure our activities are always inclusive. So students can come for free and listen to the content and be a part of the learning process. Academics and policymakers are all allowed to come for free as well. And so that just ensures that those that may not be able to have the means to buy tickets, etc., have the ability to be a part of this community. So that's kind of one at the base layer. In terms of the content programs, so inclusion for us, it revolves around two elements. It's the cost to serve and the ability to reach new communities. And so a lot of our content will center in around something we're referring to as re-architecting the financial system. And this is sorely needed because there are about 1.4 billion unbanked, and there are countless others that are underbanked. And so there will be a lot of content which seeks to kind of find different ways, whether it's leveraging technology or thinking about new regulatory roadmaps that supports the wave to make our financial system more transparent, but also more equitable and more fair. And so this is a lot to do with the cost. This is a lot to do with the speed of whether it's a transaction or being able to access a bank account, but also the transparency there as well. And so you'll see content from the private sector that talks about this, but you'll also see a lot of content from the public sector, so policymakers and regulators that are talking about different bridges in terms of payment corridors have the potential to reduce the costs, payment transactions, but also building out some of the great developments that have happened with the India stack and what Singapore has. So there is a big narrative that's going to run through the festival, through roundtables and some of the content sessions around digital public infrastructure and how this is so important to fuel the digital economy and bring about more inclusion to greater swaths of society, and certainly those in rural areas, because as you know from the India stack story, that has driven a great deal of inclusion because you have an identity layer, you have coupled with payments, you have a data exchange, and that's wrapped around a consent architecture framework. So all of these dialogues will be happening, and what the outcome, because it's important to have outcomes from these events, is it will start to shape a series of projects that we'll see come to fruition in 2024.
Excellent. I think it has been a great encapsulation of what is in store at Singapore FinTech Festival. This event has been really very, very important from the announcements perspective. A lot of important announcements were made at Singapore FinTech Festival in the last few editions. Is there any curtain raiser on any new tie-ups, any new bridges that you are creating at the Singapore FinTech Festival?
Yeah, so I'm privy to a lot of information on these announcements. You're going to see a lot of regulatory projects that will be announced, particular around kind of stablecoins and kind of programmable money, that kind of space. You'll see a few things around sustainability. So there is a team that is part of MAS at the moment called Project Greenprint. And so they'll be announcing a number of activities which will really seek to drive the sustainability agenda forward. And then there'll be a few things around artificial intelligence, in particular around generative AI, and how we should be starting to look at this technology from a safety and security perspective, but also not to hinder innovation. And so we'll see a whole raft of these kind of public sector, but also public-private sector partnerships that will be announced and MOUs inked as well during the week. And then when we look at the pure private sector, there are a number of kind of product announcements happening and even interesting partnerships between organizations that you wouldn't necessarily see coming together. One we had earlier this year was where Ant Group, where Circle come together with Grab to announce their partnership, and we'll see quite a few unusual types of partnerships, which makes it really exciting because everyone now seems to be moving in different swim lanes. And there is that blurring of lines between different industry verticals or different kind of industry segments. And that's the most exciting part of where we currently are today in financial services.
Superb. I think this is really exciting, and we would really love to see all those exciting announcements which are going to be made at the Singapore FinTech Festival. Thank you very much, Pat, for spending your valuable time.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to be on your show.